Lots of people accuse me of being overly pessimistic about the prospects for crypto prices in the near future. Now, many want to believe that the worst is over for the crypto market and it can only go up from here. I think plenty of others just want to hear me say it, even though they don't really believe it themselves. And maybe a few believe that if we all just pump enough hopium into the atmosphere, we can lift prices out of the toilet and float away to the moon. Now, one of the fundamental reasons why crypto has been having such an absolute shocker recently is because of macroeconomic concerns, specifically those relating to inflation and interest rates. A few select sets of numbers are having a massive effect on prices of cryptocurrencies and other assets besides, and that is why your stock portfolio hasn't been much consolation after checking your crypto holdings. Everything is at the mercy of the macro. Now, as the second half of 2022 gets into its stride, we have 3 really big macro announcements incoming this month, which are going to have a profound influence on crypto and beyond. So, get your diaries out and put a big red exclamation mark on the following 3 dates. So, first up, we have the 13th of July. This is when the US inflation figures for June are released. Now, inflation figures have been climbing higher and higher over the past few months as the cost of running the money printer during the pandemic becomes ever more apparent. This figure is certainly going to remain high. There's no doubt about that. But it's a question of how high. If it's higher than the May figure, which was an astonishing 8.6%, well, get ready for more red candles. But if it's lower, or even just the same, we could see the markets rally. This is because the suggestion will be that although inflation is still high, it may well have finally peaked. The markets will clutch at any straw of good news that they can right now, so any suggestion that inflation may be levelling off will be seen as a positive. This very much ties into the next big announcement, which will come a fortnight later on the 27th of July. This is when the Federal Reserve will announce its latest interest rate rise. Recall that last month it hiked rates by 75 basis points, 0.75%, and markets tumbled. Well, if inflation is shown to still be rising, then expect another 75 bips and more falling prices. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has recently stated that taming inflation is his biggest concern, and raising interest rates is the only way he can do that. The problem is, as rates rise, so too does the cost of borrowing, and thus so too does the likelihood of a recession. Which brings us to the third big announcement for July, which appears the very next day on the 28th. This is the big reveal of the US Q2 GDP figures. If they show negative growth, as many are expecting, then America will officially be in a recession. Now, of course, Jerome and his buddies will have had an early preview screening of this particular disaster movie, and it will have informed their decision the previous day. But remember, inflation is enemy number 1 for the Fed, and it seems like a recession is the price they're willing to pay to try and bring inflation down. Now, I've just done a video on our main channel talking all about this, and I urge you to check it out. To my mind, all 3 announcements are unlikely to contain much, if any, good news. The best we can hope for is confirmation that inflation has peaked, but even that won't stop rate rises. It might just slow them down. Rates will go up again on the 27th. It's just a question of how much they go up by. And as to a recession, well, if you think that's avoidable at this stage, then put that hopium pipe down, sir, because you have smoked enough. Which is why my optimism is focused on the long term. Crypto and everything else is in a bear market now, and that won't change until the rate rises start to have a noticeable effect on inflation. That is months, maybe years in the future, and it's why I am sitting tight for now. But rest assured, things will get better in the long run, and those who were patient will have their reward.